this is Miss Sabata and welcome back to another video here at AUI's Education Hub. Today's lesson will be on leadership and management, which is a topic in business studies. Now remember guys, every Wednesdays are Wednesdays for commerce, right? So if you have commerce subjects that you're struggling with, then please come here on our YouTube channel every single Wednesday where you can get updates on new material that you can learn for commerce subjects. So for today's video, we will be focusing on leadership and management, right? So leadership and management is one of the topics that you'll find in the microenvironment of business studies. So we will be taking not a deep dive, but we'll be delving into leadership and management. So what is leadership and management, right? So leadership, first of all, refers to the ability of an individual or a group of individuals to influence and guide followers or other members of an organization, right? So there's a big difference between a leadership and management, and we'll be looking directly into those things in order for you to differentiate the two. So leadership is then used to inspire subordinates to perform in order to achieve goals, right? Whereas management is the coordination of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling employees to achieve goals. So managers have power because of the position of authority into which they are appointed, right? So a leader is used to inspire subordinates, whereas a manager is the one who is appointed into a position of authority. So these are the differences between leadership and management. So leadership influences human behavior, whereas management guides human behavior, right? So leaders also communicate by means of interaction, behavior, vision, values, and charisma, whereas management communicates through management functions, right? So managers have strict rules and regulations that they follow in order to achieve success or to complete tasks, whereas leaders encourage new ideas in order to increase productivity. So they also inspire staff to trust and support each other, and managers control systems and procedures to get the job done. So that is the big difference between leadership and management, right? So management has certain rules and structures that they need to follow, whereas leaders are allowed to be more flexible when completing their tasks. There are 6 leadership styles that we're going to be looking at, which is your democratic, your autocratic, the free rein, transactional, charismatic, and bureaucratic leadership styles, right? So depending on the type of business or the type of team structure that each business has, then these are the 6 leadership styles that each business will probably use, or each department will use. So the first one we're going to be looking at is the democratic leadership style, right? So when it comes to the democratic leadership style, that leader would invite team members or the group to contribute ideas and participate in the decision making, right? So this type of leadership style gives off the vibe of let's vote on it. It gives every single person a chance to take part in the decision-making process, right? So for example, if you take a school prefect board, right? When it comes to a school prefect board, not only do teachers have an influence on who gets to become prefects, right? But you also need to include the learners, because then how do you appoint prefects, but you don't take into consideration the people that they are going to be leading? So when it comes to something like that, you have to have a democratic vote, in the sense that every single person, person that is going to be governed by the prefect board needs to vote on who is actually on the prefect board. So the positives of democratic leadership is that um, the leader invites the team members to contribute ideas and participate in the decision making, obviously. And the staff gives a variety of ideas, inputs, and feedback that can lead to improved production methods and increased sales, right? So then we can also say authority is delegated, right, which can motivate and inspire workers to be more productive. When we say authority is delegated, we mean that there is authority, but it's put to the side in order to inspire workers to be more productive. You understand what I'm saying? Then the negatives will include incorrect decisions may be made if the staff is inexperienced or they are not fully informed. Decision making may be time consuming because stakeholders must be consulted. So when we go back to our example of the school prefect board, right? Decision making may take time because now when you have to include stakeholders. Now, when we go back to the example of the school prefect board, when we talk about stakeholders, we talk about the learners that are going to be governed by that school, by that prefect body, right? So now, if you have to consider each and every learner and each and every learner's vote, you can see how that can be time consuming, because as much as you want to move on and make a decision as quickly as possible, you still need to consult with your stakeholders. Leaders can also rely too much on the input of other team members and may fail to make a final decision. So obviously now we're saying here, leaders rely a lot on the team members and they are never able to make a final decision on time. Then we move on to the autocratic leadership style. So this is where the leader makes all the decisions without consulting other staff members. They give off my way or the highway vibes. So when we give an example, we talk about coaches during an important match. So during important matches, obviously it is intense and everything is like there's a deadline. Like we need to win before the time runs out, right? So the coach will then give out orders without expecting the players to say anything else in return. So the positives of this will include quick decisions can be taken without consulting or considering employees. The line of command is clear, and direct supervision and strict control ensure high quality products and or services. So when you take the coach, for example, you'll be like, okay, so now the coach, obviously you are working under time pressure, right? So you need to win before the match ends. So quick decisions must be made. There's a line of command. So communication is very clear because the coach speaks directly to the employees and they ensure that everything is controlled so that they can achieve the result that they want. The negatives will include that leaders and followers may become divided and may not agree on ways to solve problems. New and creative or cost reducing ideas may not be used or ever considered. And then experienced or highly skilled workers may resist this leadership style because it results in slow growth or low participation. So yeah, so these are things that you look at when you're looking at the autocratic leadership style. So yeah, so sometimes when you're too harsh with employees, you won't be able to create new ideas. You can't generate cost reducing ideas because now everybody needs to listen to one person and everybody else's opinions. It's just their opinions just don't matter. Then this is the laissez-faire leadership style, which is also known as the free reign leadership style. So here the leader delegates tasks to followers with little to no direction given. So they give off this attitude of, you've got this, I trust you. So an example of this would be a university research group. So advantages of this are that workers and followers are allowed to make decisions on their own work and methods. So authority is delegated, which can be motivating and empowering to competent workers and increase productivity. So subordinates are then experts and know what they want and can take responsibility for their actions. So when we talk about a university research group, right, and we're referring to the free reign leadership style, what we mean here is that all when you are given an assignment, right, and you are put in a group, all of you guys sort of have the same knowledge and same skills that you can use. So everybody brings in what they know, right? However, sometimes there could be a lack of clear direction and leadership, which may lead to demotivating for employees. Productivity may also be compromised due to a lack of tight control over workers not meeting deadlines, and workers are also expected to solve their own conflict situations. So now when you take this university research group, right, let's say there are 3 or 4 of you. So now everybody has an idea of what the assignment it is that they're doing, right? But now productivity may be compromised because there's no tight control. There's no one person leading the group. Everybody wants to pitch in at the same time, and everyone is expected to solve their own conflict. Otherwise, then how do they move on to achieve any success? Now we are looking at transactional leadership style. So the leader here focuses on motivating followers through a system of reward and punishment. So a leader will probably say, if you do this, then you will get. So an example of this will be sales manager with a commission, right? So the advantages include encouraging employees to work hard because they will receive rewards. It is also used to improve employees' productivity and morale. Business goals and objectives can be achieved as workers are motivated. However, managing and controlling employees may be time consuming. Some employees may become unmotivated if they fail to meet targets despite working hard. And this type of leadership style is usually not suitable for teamwork because all team members can be punished for poor performance that is caused by one team member. So if you look at our example that says sales manager with commission, right? So a sales manager that works with a commission will obviously use that commission in order to encourage their employees. So they tell the employees that if you guys meet the target that for this month, then everybody will probably get like a 20% commission or 30% commission. But if nobody meets the target, then nobody gets the reward. Or if one person meets the target, then nobody gets the reward. So it's a matter of weighing the rewards and punishment. So that's the transactional leadership style, which focuses on a system of reward and punishment. Now we look at the charismatic leadership style, which uses charm to influence employees. Employees are inspired by energy and keenness of the leader. So the leader usually says, let's change the world together. They're trying to influence followers. So for example, you take Nelson Mandela, right? Nelson Mandela used a charismatic leadership style in the way that he spoke to the people, right? So these people they are experts at selling vision and achieving results. So employees are motivated as the leader is energetic and inspiring, and it also inspires loyalty and hard work among employees. So take Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was an expert at selling the vision of the ANC. He was an expert of selling the vision of anything. In fact, in the way he spoke, he was able to motivate people. He was able to inspire loyalty, And then the negatives will be that leaders believe more in themselves than the team. Projects can collapse if the team leader leaves the team, and leaders are intolerant of challenges and regard themselves as irreplaceable. So that's just straightforward when it comes to the charismatic leadership style. Then we have the bureaucratic leadership style. This is when leaders make sure that employees follow strict rules, regulations, and policies. So these type of leaders are by the book, right? So an example of this would be that businesses where safety is critical, so like your airlines and mines, um, when it comes to those businesses, a bureaucratic leadership style is the one that is expected, right? So the advantages of this leadership style are that managers ensure that rules and regulations are followed accurately. It works well when tight control measures need to be implemented and followed, and quality work is always ensured, and accountability to the public is also ensured. Excuse me. So when we're looking at this leadership style, obviously everything has to be by the book. So quality is ensured, and in case if anything goes wrong, accountability to the public is also ensured. When you look at the negatives, um, complicated official rules may seem unnecessary and time consuming. So, depending on the type of business that is, some rules may be complicated and they may be time consuming. And also, there's a lack of creativity and innovation, which may lead to stagnation and a decrease in productivity. So, if people are not given a chance to be creative and innovative, then productivity can decrease. Employees may also feel they have become objects of work and are not treated as humans. So obviously, if now you have to follow strict rules and procedures, it sort of starts to feel like you're being a robotic object. So now you're just a robot that does the same thing over and over again. So employees may feel like they're becoming objects of work. So now we look at situations in which each leadership style can be used. So democratic leadership styles are usually used in skilled teams where quality is more important than speed. So obviously now these are your creative people. They are given a chance. They have time and everything like that. For autocratic leadership style, it is when there is a crisis or a deadline needs to be met, and if the staff is inexperienced, right? Then for the laissez-faire leadership style, this is for highly skilled, motivated, and a professional team. So this is the free reign leadership style. So everyone there needs to be highly skilled, they need to be motivated, and the team needs to be professional at all costs. Charismatic leadership style. Is usually used when a business needs motivation or they are launching a new product, right? So now we're trying to meet sales, we're trying to sell a vision, we're trying to achieve success. We use a charismatic leadership style. When it comes to transactional leadership style, this is for routine production line work where the output is measurable. What do we mean by the output is measurable? So you're working on commission, you're working on profit, things like that. So that's where the transactional leadership style will come in. Then bureaucratic leadership style is for routine repetitive tasks that must be 100% accurate. So health and security, those are routine repetitive tasks that need to be accurate all the time because rules and regulations and policies need to be followed at all times. Then we move on to leadership theories, right? So with the leadership styles come leadership theories. Leadership theories guide leaders on the different leadership styles that could be adopted. Um, so So for leadership theories, we're going to be looking at three leadership theories. The first one being situational leadership theory. So here is where different leadership characteristics are needed for different situations, right? So relationships between leaders and employees is based on mutual trust, respect, loyalty, integrity, and honesty. So leaders then have the ability to analyze the situation and get the most suitable people in the right positions in order to complete tasks successfully. And the last thing we'll say about situational leadership theory is that effective application of this theory may enable leaders to accomplish their goals on time. Then we have transformational leadership theory, right? So this leadership theory is adopted by the leader during a period in which the organization would experience radical change, right? So this leadership theory is more suitable for a dynamic environment where change could be very drastic for the business, for the employees, and for the clients, right? So here, strategic thinking leaders are allowed to develop a long term vision for the organization and they need to sell it to their subordinates, right? And also, it enables employees to take greater ownership for their work and to know their strengths and weaknesses. Then the last leadership theory is leaders and followers. So employers, as followers of leaders, follow the instruction of the leader and collectively work towards the organizational goals, right? So teams achieve great success, great results when there is a sense of understanding between the leader and the team of followers, right? So followers listen to what is expected of them and are willing to work towards that as a team. Leaders also motivate employees to devise alternative strategies to find more efficient ways to use available resources. The team might have insufficient resources at their disposal, resulting in unwillingness to work. So leaders and followers work hand in hand, right? Without leaders, there wouldn't be followers, and without followers, there cannot be appointed leaders. So they need to work one another in order to achieve great results. So they need to have a sense of understanding between leaders and followers, and they also need to follow the instructions accordingly. So they need to listen to what is expected of them, and they need to be willing to work together as a team. And the last thing we're going to be looking at when it comes to this topic is the role of personal attitude in successful leadership. So in order to be a successful leader, personal attitude plays a huge role in how it becomes, right? So positive attitude releases leadership potential. A leader's good or bad attitude can influence the success or failure of the business. So if you are a good leader, then you can influence the success of the business. But if you're a bad leader, then you can also influence the failure of the business. Leaders must know their strengths and weaknesses to apply their leadership styles effectively, right? So just like everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. So they need to know their strengths and weaknesses in order to apply leadership styles effectively. Great leaders understand that the right attitude will set the right atmosphere. Successful employees and leaders have a constant desire to work and achieve personal and professional success, and leaders with a positive attitude know that there is always more to learn and space to grow. So when you want to be a successful leader, you need to also look closely at your personal attitude, because that plays a vital role in successful leadership. And that is it for our lesson for today. Thank you everyone for staying. I hope you have learned something. If you guys have any questions, just drop them down in the comment section, and we will try to get back to you as soon as we can. So thank you guys. I will see you next week, Wednesday again. Because remember, Wednesdays are Commerce Days.